Alright, it is now time for raising funds for World Domination, day number 160. So, we're down to 5 days until the next N13 hearing. Yeah, it's getting close, so I did a bit of work. Some stuff on that today. Dukyop Bias. Congratulations, you're number one. The number one chatter tonight. Are you gonna win? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're fairly prepared. As for the daily updates, the last release of the block mining game was that was a while ago now. 20 days or so ago. Last video released was, I guess that's getting to be almost a week ago. My my fast commentary videos didn't end up being super fast. Currently working on the legal commentary one, and I'm going to say that's 98% edited. I was really thinking I would actually finish that today, but I did a bunch more edits, and well, I added some like a B-roll scene to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm basically done that video now. I rendered it. I did a watch through of it. There's a couple just editing mistakes I need to fix, and maybe after the stream I'll probably fix those and then re-render it. Tomorrow will be uploaded and then release it. Probably. Are you afraid to make your life as a renter miserable if you win? I can always just bail. I can always just go live in the woods. Just return to nature. Takalora says, hey Robert. Thumbnail is a bit different today. Are we doing new stuff? I don't know. I didn't change it. I know sometimes when you start a stream, probably like when I create the stream like object, when I go create stream, but I haven't actually clicked start streaming, so there's no frames for it to pick from. So I think when that happens, it uses my the default. I don't even choose this. It just does. It by default picks my the wallpaper background or whatever from my channel page. So that's probably what you might be seeing. But that's just an automatic thing. I don't change it. Mean return to parents. Yeah, that's always an option. But I could just run into the forest and be free. Just build a house out of wood, just like in Minecraft. So as for the Shopify situation, there's no updates on that. No new sales. My $4 block dedication hasn't sold. I think what it actually might be doing is it's the ones it's advertising the sold out $2 sticker packs, because I guess there's more data for those. So I guess most people clicking are not immediately seeing the $8 pack. But either way, it's still data points on click-throughs and stuff. And once again, we're going to continue work on the block mining simulation game. So we're working toward the next major release, which is going to include crafting recipes. And the major feature development focus is a general purpose scrollable list menu UI feature. So today I merged in the changes I was working into the main branch and pushed it. Oh yeah, we're in October now. 10:01. How time flies. Right, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, Ontario overall just seems to be going downhill. There's every new day there's bad news about the economy here. Tariffs hitting us. There's a real estate market collapse. I think I saw today a news item about there's a was it Oshawa or something? There's some like auto plant where there's a bunch of jobs and it's like been there for 50 years or something, and they closed it. They're going to reload. Donald Trump is bringing back the jobs to the U.S. They're going to close the plant up here and bring the jobs back to the U.S. So everyone up here is getting laid off. Poopy indeed. Yeah, I mean, that's rough if you're if that's where you put your career path, but it's hard to find job security these days. So the next thing I'll probably do is so if there's a list item that's not present, yeah, there we go. How goes the job today? Do you get to watch YouTube videos at work now, today? I guess you must be able to, because you're watching this video. Pretty much finished all work. It's already midday. Nice. Inbox was rough this morning. Someone sent feedback to an article. The feedback was full of AI images. That's strange. They sent feedback like illustrative. They were trying to demonstrate a point, or was it like just some kind of spam? Trying to make a point, not about us, but the system. Too much time in their hands and perhaps a little unhinged. Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. I mean, I get a lot of like unhinged spam. It's like marketing spam, but it's so bad that it makes me I get overwhelmed with it. But it's just like, if you actually improved the quality of this marketing spam, you might actually get some sales. But it's just so terrible. Moss says, "Whoa. Are you impressed at my coding skills?" Yeah, I get a lot of marketing, like, ever since I set up a Shopify store. I guess there's like a category of bots that like listen for people creating Shopify stores, and then as soon as you create a store, they just like spam the contact email with tons and tons of proposals to like improve your SEO, and a bunch of them will just say like, hey, is this store open for sales? And some of them were weird. Like there's one, like the person's name they put was they put their like the name of the person to send the email was black expert, and then it was like beexpert@gmail.com, and they would send a message that's like a one sentence thing, but like hey, I do like expert professional SEO marketing or something, and then like the words are misspelled, so there's no identity attached to it. You should hire them. There's too many of them. There's literally like 10 or 20 of them a day, and they're all like variations of the same poorly written, like one sentence misspelled message. Like they could just, like ChatGPT could do a better job of it. It's just so strange. What are you coding? I'm coding a I guess I can demo it. I think it's in a compiling state. I'm coding a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore and other minerals. Am I banned? Nope. I can see your message. If you chatted before, did you say something before and it didn't go through? Because if so, that would be because of YouTube censoring the stuff that you say. There's some very few people that I've banned. How do you deal with crap managers when you are working for software companies? I think the answer to that probably depends on in what respect the manager is bad. Like there's many different ways that a manager can be bad. So someone asked about what I'm working on. This is the video game. It's run in the purely the Linux terminal. You wander around an infinite world and you mine blocks. And that's basically the game. Sounds like a certain game idea, a familiar one. Yeah, there's a bunch of games that have blocks in them. Only way to deal with crap managers is just to quit and work elsewhere. Yeah, it depends. Micromanager, no trust in the team, too much process. Yeah, I don't know. There's I mean, you can try to come up with ways to have like be strategic in how you have conversations with them. I guess it depends how desperately you need the job, and like if you can get yourself into a position where you don't care if you get fired, and you can be a bit more direct and say, hey, look, this is not the way you're talking to me, the way you're micromanaging me is it's not okay. It's stressful. And then maybe they can improve, but maybe they'll say that they improve and then they don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any good advice for that. It's not really possible to give good advice through the internet. I mean, it's also difficult too because for generic situations like that, like if I know about an arbitrary, since you're in my chat, I have a disposition to take your side, but then I know you just as well as I know the hypothetical manager. So what if maybe I should take his side instead? Maybe he does need to be on your case more. I have no idea. Should be asleep. Good night, y'all. Have a good night. Appreciate your answer. All the same. Yeah, I would say, assuming, and it is not surprising. A lot of middle managers are not good. I also find there's this kind of, there can be a quality too of managers sometimes. How sometimes in some ways in a, what would you call it? It just turns out that certain people who have like their own sets of, if someone is aware of their own inadequacies, like if they're not doing a good job and they're like insecure about it, and you make that person a manager, then they'll go around like micromanaging other people. But the effect of that is that, like they're putting fear into your heart, and every day you come into work and you're like stressed out. You're like, oh man, I gotta be focused on how do I avoid the wrath of my manager. And every day you're on your toes, and then the result of that is that you do a lot of work. Whereas if it's the opposite, if he comes into work every day and let's say he's kind of inadequate, and every day he's like, wow, you guys are geniuses. I don't know what we'd do if we didn't have you. You are the best, most productive employee. You're so great. You deserve a raise. If you quit, I don't know what we'd do. If they talk to you that way every day, your ego would get boosted. And then, then you start to fly close to the sun, and you start coming in late, and you start like playing loud music at work, and wearing sunglasses and feeling confident and proud. But you gotta put a cap on that. So you gotta get one of those, insecure, neurotic people in your case all the time, so that way your ego won't get boosted up too much. I mean, I think that is a managing strategy that exists. Whether that's exactly what's going on in your scenario, I don't know. Orthoplex 64. You're late again, but you're still here. And that's all that counts. What are the top desirable attributes that you develop as you mature out of your teens in your experience? Top desirable attributes. I don't know. It's hard to answer that super generically. I mean, one effect as you get older, maybe not always necessarily as you get older, but because some young people can also develop this, but as you experience a more wide range of like stressful experiences and like parts of the human condition, I think it kind of improves your morality. Like, have you experienced going without or going through a stressful situation or something? Like if you take like super young, sheltered people who grew up in a suburban environment, it's very sterile, and you go to school where you like sing songs about the virtues of picking up after yourself and stuff. You have like a certain coddled morality and sense of value in the world, of like things you value. But then when you get older and you go through like few very stressful experiences, then afterward you look back, you're like, you know what, the things I thought were important before are not as important. That's one generic thing, but there's probably many things you could answer that question with. Self-awareness and empathy. Yeah, I think you get those too. Some of it is not necessarily, it's really not tied to the age. I think it's also the experience. Like when I went to university, that kind of forced me to figure out how to be very productive, and it kind of like taught me my mental and physiological limitations, how to get like the most work out of me and working under tight deadlines and all that kind of stuff. But if I waited a few more years to go to university, I would have just learned that, it's not like I would have learned that earlier. All right, let's make it render empty items. Is investing in Canadian gold mining firms a good idea in your view, given the state of the economy? I mean, generally speaking, it's probably not a good idea to take investing advice from someone who's broke, but I mean, as a retail investor, to make an investment thesis and then to achieve to do something other than gambling to actually achieve some statistical edge, using our brain to think about this stuff. I think you have to ask way deeper questions. So from there's you could maybe ask a couple questions. Should you invest in gold, or should you invest in gold mining companies? And then also, should you invest in Canadian gold mining companies? I think it would be probably a totally separate kind of analysis about whether gold is a good investment in general, or any kind of commodities. I mean, if I had to bet, I would say that commodities probably are going to increase, because we're probably, I think the stimulus has kind of already started, and when we start pumping the economy full of money, assets are going to go up. Now, mining companies are going to trade at some deviation from the underlying commodity, and I've heard from a few places that Canadian mining companies are fraught with tons and tons of fraud. I think we have a long history of things where you can go and do a gold assay, and they would just bring some gold. There was what was it called, Bre-X or something? Was that it? There's been a bunch of them. There's one in Australia. There was a fraud years ago, and then I think it was Australia. Anyway, it's a long history of mining companies putting extra minerals in their samples, and then they'll be like, "Wow, look at this! We did a gold sample analysis. We have the best gold mine in the world here," but really it's like a fake sample. So they're assuming that they have 20 tons or something in the mine, but there's really nothing, or they just don't know. So I guess if you're going to act on that investment thesis, you probably want to know something about the mining process, and otherwise it's I guess I'm not saying don't do it, but if you invest it and make a lot of money, then it's probably more or less just random noise. I just saw the fancy Italian food in your shutdown video. Oh, nice. I guess people are getting my my community posts. Yeah, I did that video. A few of the videos from around that series are when that was when the rent eviction situation was really ramping up here. A bunch of people got stung with the. They came in to inspect our apartments and they found people with the air conditioners, which, I mean, everyone for like the last 30 years before they bought this building, everyone here just had air conditioners and it was not a problem. Heck, they want you to remove your fridge for it. It was the air conditioners they didn't like. And it was basically, it was just like it was a scam to, they were trying to argue like, oh, it's not explicitly allowed in your lease, so you're not allowed to have it. And there is some kind of bylaw, I think, if you have, like for safety reasons, if you have an air conditioner hanging outside of your window, they can request that you not, like there's a good reason for you not to have them there, only if they're like properly secured. But for here, like there's a balcony, so if it fell out, it would just fall on the balcony. But they even, there's an elderly woman who lives here who has a portable air conditioner, so it's like it's the one that's physically in her living room, meant to be like the safer alternative. And they even sent a letter to her trying to what they were arguing, so the existing leases are the cost of electricity is included, so they're trying to pressure people. They're like, we will allow you to keep your appliances. We'll allow you to continue using our appliances if you switch the hydro into your own name and start paying extra for the cost of electricity. And then I would tell people it's only $20 a month or something, and then it would be $100 a month. Letter mentioned other appliances like portable dishwashers. How is that their business? Yeah, they were. I mean, technically, I think there probably are valid reasons to exclude. I don't have a portable dishwasher, and I don't know anyone who does, but I could imagine there are, scenarios where certain appliances will cause issues, and they would explicitly disallow those. But our leases, they just sent the same letter to everyone to try and scare people, and it worked because they got a bunch of people to switch their leases over and get them to pay more money. I don't miss being a renter, but it's fun. You can own nothing, and you will be happy. All right, that's better. Once lived in a place with a hole in the bathroom floor. A big one. You could see the ground. Wow, that's and you live in Australia, so there'd be like snakes and everything coming in. Hope they give out stimulus checks like hotcakes. Seems like recession is inevitable. Yep, that's where we're headed. We're gonna total socialism. We're just gonna like give up on the economy. Free checks for everyone. I'll eat the bugs if they just let me own things. Nope, you're not allowed. Everything has to be the worst way possible. It's because they did a crappy extension. They built the floor out of plywood. That's must not be code compliant. Took 3 months to contact them. Day later, do something. Their solution was to come put another piece of plywood. Yeah, I guess it would probably hold it for a while. Honestly, that might be the better business decision instead of doing it right, which costs a lot of money. Get a piece of plywood, which costs like $20. Big brain move. Use unemployment checks. Invest it all in crypto. But then what if you lose it? Except they didn't cut it properly. The plywood sheet was too big. So it stopped us from being able to open the bathroom door properly. Nice. Well, hopefully they didn't charge you too much for rent. It was a lot of rent. 4 of us living there. That's it's not cool. Hopefully it was at least. Must have had some redeeming quality. Good location maybe, or maybe just everywhere. Everywhere is terrible. That's our future. Everyone will live 25 people to a house. Substandard, decaying housing. Right next to the CBD. CBD, what's is that like public transit or? Central Business District. Okay, well, it sounds like, I guess maybe that was why it was so expensive. Yeah, I lived in one of my first my first co-op where I had to move out to Toronto. I lived in this building. I lived in it was a house. It was just like if you walk in like some random, like a random like suburban, like old. It was a very old house, but it looks a suburban type house, and it was there was 8 people that lived there, and it was nice cheap rent. I paid $400 and something a month to live there. And now rent is I guess it's five times as expensive. Well, maybe not for a room, but you fit a lot of people in those old houses. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's I know there was 8 people there, and it wasn't even that big of a house. There was a guy who lived in the basement, and I never saw him one time. And apparently he just played like video games all day and like never left his room. Let's see, so the width is going to be Someone who doesn't leave the room is the best housemate. Yeah, you know what? He was. He was a very good housemate. Because I barely knew he existed. The opposite problem. People who don't work, we're always in the house, would always be in the lounge. Couldn't escape them. Yeah, that's why I think the optimal situation is to be in a place where you're like you're not alone, but there's people around who are like 100 feet away. That's a good distance to be away from someone. But if you're in like lockdown environment and you're just in the same room every single day, let's say you go crazy. Like being in prison. Some roommates too are. If you get the wrong roommate, it's like having 5 roommates, because they always have like random people over. They're always talking loudly about stuff. Will that do what I want? I think that will do it. Roommates of opposite gender is dicey. There's a lot that could be said about that topic, but it depends a lot on the roommate and how many roommates you have, and various social politics that we won't go into. 5 says, "Hi Robert in chat. How's it going?" All right, I think oops. I think my better calculation for the equidistant or equal sized list items works. And housemates of opposite gender. They would pee on the floor. That's not a good sign. Saw the craziest breakups from those types of houses. Yeah, I'm sure there's untold amounts of drama that can happen. I mean, human beings are not really designed to live in these kinds of arrangements. Like when you think, hundreds of years ago, you could just build your own house and have some space and privacy. Or you'd at least live in a house where you could just immediately go outside and get a few minutes of personal time. In Toronto, they're pushed to densify housing has made one of the things to make it more efficient to build, they started dropping elevators, or they had a mandate to have normally 2 elevators, and they're well, we can jam more housing in it if we drop one of the elevators. So even in my building, it's a 5-minute ordeal to go downstairs. And apparently some of these ones in Toronto, it's literally almost 25 minutes to try and go outside because you have to wait. There's so much contention in the elevator. If you're going out in the morning or something. So if you go down and you forget something and you come back up, it's, a substantial portion of your day. First house bust up I was in was a house of 4 girls. Yeah, and I guess I don't have much input on that. I'm sure lots of people have lots of crazy stories of their housemate trauma, but I'm not super interested, unless it was housemate trauma about what your favorite text editor was. If they were fans of Nano or Emacs, I can understand. Not bad. How's your quest for world domination? It's making progress, slowly, day by day. We got the rent eviction hearing coming up in 5 days now. I was actually in Toronto recently for the first time in 15 years. Very nice options for food. Yeah, actually I haven't, I'm in Kitchener, but I honestly haven't even been in Toronto in a few years. It's been changing a lot. Everything up here is like the population has gone up by a significant amount. Like the population has probably increased by like 2 million since I last went down to Toronto. I worked in Toronto in 2010, and I did a lot of exploring of the city back then. But yeah, I guess that's, well, same, 15 years. Yeah, I would actually, I wouldn't even mind going for a vacation to just like go explore Ontario, like just go around the area, just like actually go visit Brampton and like, wander around a few streets and go to the various, get a sample of North York and see how things have changed. The area is very, I don't know, what would you call it? It's like, things are very, I don't know, things have not had time to like settle down. Like we brought in so many people. We have had large amounts of construction in certain areas. And they do it in like the cheapest possible, like carbon copy. There's like areas where there's basically no character at all to the housing. It's just the exact same, like copy and paste, lowest possible quality, cheapest cost housing that looks exactly the same. So you can like, people have trouble even figuring out where their houses are because everything looks so similar. Drives very bad drivers. Yeah, I think there's a large increase in the number of bad drivers in the last decade. There's been a notable increase in the number of truck drivers that drive into bridges in the last few years too, or like dump trucks that leave their backup. Carbon copy housing sounds exactly like what I see in Dallas. For both condo apartments, Standalone. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I shouldn't complain too much because I think anything possible that just makes it possible to build housing. But it's also, I mean, it's such a contradiction. Like, so intuition would tell you that as the society becomes more developed, as we supposedly become more intelligent, as we supposedly become more rich and efficient and all these kinds of things, somehow we're getting worse at building things and like building a sustainable civilization. Like, how do we build? We were able to build super nice things long ago, and people didn't need to, spend like 3 lifetimes paying off their house. It's not what I expected. My index must be wrong. So what happens when we let greedy and corrupt leaders take charge? The result of democracy. That's a topic for another tune. Yeah, it really does seem like there's some growing pains in our whole system, and it's not super obvious how to fix those things. I kind of think what's going to happen. I think people are going to become increasingly agitated, and people are going to say like things need we need a social change. But what's actually going to happen is like there's just a physical process that's taking place, and eventually it'll just work its way through. Like we're probably in for like 10 years of stagnation and angst, and that'll just go on for so long that like the problems that we have won't get solved. They'll just go away. They'll just become like they'll naturally go away over time. Kind of like in Detroit stuff, they have all those like abandoned houses or something. Eventually, all the abandoned houses will like fall down or get burned, or something will happen. And the decline can only happen for so long until you hit rock bottom, and then things will start going up again. Is that right? have you been with the eviction? The next N13 merits hearing is going to be in 5 days. So we'll have some more information after that. But as it looks right now, it looks like things are leaning toward our side, but there'll be more information after the hearing. But for now, they have to actually get to get an eviction order. They first have to go to the tenant board and then prove that they actually need quote unquote vacant possession to do their supposed renovations that they don't even want to do. And until they get that, then there's no legal ability to evict. just ate some bugs by accident. That's good. You're getting used to our new future. You're a visionary, in fact. Should make a YZ startup out of this. Yeah, there was what was it? What was that? That's Soylent Green or whatever. I think that's what it was called. It was Soylent or something. Is that like you used to buy packets of mush that was supposedly like food? You can look into their business model. I'm not sure. Are they still in business? Soylent is still a thing? Huh. It must be, I guess, have they changed their marketing at all? Because last time I remember, I thought it was advertised as like, you could like totally replace food with this and eat this for the rest of your life. But I'm not, I think I remember there was like one person that actually tried only eating Soylent and then they got sick. And I think there's like some batches that had like food poisoning in them or something. There was like, they had bacteria or something. Nice, look at that awesome looking scrollable menu. Oh, it's got some bugs. Oh, nice. A super chat. Once again from James Goodrich. Pick a card, any card. A 2 of hearts. I assume we're playing a standard card game. They advertise them as complete meal and use the phrase meal replacement. Unclear whether it's fully directed at the product. Yeah, there's I don't know much about nutrition in that way. I'm sure that there's probably some there's a lot of things that advertise themselves as a meal replacement. So I guess in that sense, it's not really a unique product. But I wonder to what extent you can just replace, just like get rid of food and only eat this stuff. Thank you very much for the super chat. Is there? Are we actually playing a card game? Is there any? Is there a punchline behind if I actually pick a card? I guess with my new fancy UI, I could make a card game. Who will is another meal replacement brand. I've heard of recently. Yeah, I think it's I don't. I'm tempted to look up the definition now. Nope. UI made me think of a memory card game. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of actually just had that thought recently as well. I could implement solitaire with this hyper advanced user interface. I'm not seeing Soylent ads sponsors at all recently. Yeah, I remember it was when I first heard of it, it was like they were saying it's like a technologically revolutionary thing. It's gonna solve hunger in the third world and like change the world. Everyone's gonna be eating Soylent, and it'll like revolutionize nutrition. But then I guess they probably started it and they're like, we don't know how to accomplish that, so we'll create a generic meal replacement thing. And I wouldn't be surprised now if they just like they buy the ingredients wholesale from like some other, like there's probably one company in China that makes the like generic meal replacement, like protein mush, and then they probably sell it under like 5 different white labels. There's probably like the Huel white label and then the Soylent white label, and it's all the same thing under the hood. Hyperscaled AI solitaire. And if it's a ring, might need to shop it through marketing. Yeah, I could just put AI on it. Use that to get more clicks. So I guess the next step on this, I think, is to I need to go through and add. I think I'm going to have to this first visible item index. That'll be yeah, I think I'll designate that like that'll be the offside of the item in the first list. And I'm gonna have to do some modulos and stuff in here. And then add a whole bunch of bounds checks. But I'm slowly getting there. It's going to be I think this will actually add a lot to the UI. Make it quite a bit more intelligible and interesting looking. It's cool that my UI is like fully responsive. Does look like a card game now. Oh wow, it's lagging pretty good. Yeah, you'd be able to implement that. This is basically just like debug information essentially. So each one of those is like, that's the like just test case rendering. So eventually, like for every list item, there's going to be a generic class. You just implement the list item class, and then you can render anything you want, and it'll the renderer can take up whatever space it wants. If it renders off of it, it'll just clip that. And the eventual thing will have the crafting list of crafting recipes here, and then the inventory will also make use of this. All right, I think I'll probably leave things there tonight. I gotta get in the habit of doing the stream earlier. I was later than I wanted to start tonight. Do utilize a deep hierarchy of objects, subclassing, or do you make use of more interface composition? No shame in either. Let's see. So the this kind of centers around renderable. I have a renderable list class. So that's basically totally generic. So that'll work for any time when I want to have a UI of list stuff, list things. It's going to use this, and so it just works with renderable list item. And there's so whenever there's the dimensions of the frame update, this function gets called to update to tell all of the list items that the frame size is changed. And then on the render function, checks the orientation, and there's a separate render function for the horizontal rendering and vertical, because it's different calculations. Renderable list item, this is the generic abstract class, so it just does that's just actually some debug output. So we just write X's right now to kind of highlight any areas there's where it's uninitialized, and then the specific the only specific renderer function is this. So right now it's just eventually I will update this to actually include the crafting recipe details. So this will output like the required inputs and the required outputs for one crafting recipe. So like requires and then produces. Yeah, that inherits this. And so ideally in the future, this thing will to have the same kind of dynamic UI with arbitrary lists. I just implement the function of rendering one item, and the rest of the infrastructure should theoretically work. Jolene Merville says, "Hi Robert, how's it going? Good night." hard-coded debug values. Yeah, eventually I'll probably delete them, but for now, I'm just like testing it. So there's, you probably saw there was a bunch of like yellow M's on the side, and that just reminds me that that space is uninitialized. So eventually I'll have to explicitly initialize it. Then I'll delete my debug code. Anyway, I'll leave it there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow for day 161. All right, talk to you later. Thanks.